Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Off the Record. Today we have Mr. Adam Murray. Now, are you ready to dive straight into this?
I am, absolutely.
Okay, question number one is, who are you and what do you do?
At the minute, that's a very difficult question. I don't know who I am or what I'm doing.
Okay.
But obviously I do. I'm Adam Murray. I am a director and choreographer, and recently moved more into working in film. Seems to be my area of expertise right now. But yeah, that's what I do.
Okay, cool. So question number two is, where did it all begin for you?
Right back.
As far back as you can remember. What's your first memory of wanting to perform, to do anything of what you do now?
Well, it's a bit weird actually for me, because I never really imagined that the film thing kind of came out of nowhere. It wasn't something that I was overly pursuing. And to be honest, I've never really been an overly ambitious person anyway, which has been a bit of a it's been a bit of a challenge over the years, because I'm super passionate about what I do, but I don't overly have this sort of, aggressive ambition that I know a lot of people, what you kind of need to have to succeed in our industry. So it kind of, stuff has come to me, and I've been very lucky with that. The film stuff really came out of a conversation that I had with a contact of mine that had put my name forward, and it was literally one of those situations, and then it just kept rolling. But way back, the very first professional job that I ever did was actually in film. So it was always very weird, or it has been weird for me these last few years, to sort of look back on that and go, oh my God, maybe this is where I was actually meant to end up. But my first experience of working professionally in the film was on the movie Chaplin, with Robert Downey Jr., directed by Richard Attenborough. Wow. And I went through all of the casting process to play young Chaplin, and the whole experience was mental with Richard Attenborough. But I just remember being on set with him and all of those cameras, and we were in King's Cross in the middle of the winter, and it was freezing cold.
Oh, wow.
Like bitterly cold, before any of that was even there, before any of Cold Drops Yard was there, or any of that new stuff. It was just all Victorian streets and all the gas stations and everything around there. But they put this whole facade of a whole cobbled street up. And I just remember sort of walking into this fantasy land, which I can only sort of describe now as what kids probably experience when they go to Universal Studios or one of those theme parks. Do you know what I mean? And you're sort of seeing all of these worlds, and then getting to look behind it and see that it's, scaffolding, or these actors come out. I don't think I'll ever forget that feeling of being on set, being freezing cold, standing there for hours, but just loving every minute of it. And I was always that kid that wanted to know how everything worked. So as much as I wanted to perform and be in the film myself, I was also fascinated by, well, how do they build that? And where's the smoke coming from? How are they making the fog? How does that camera work? Why are we starting in stages down the street? They used to do that to get that effect of that old delay or fade in when you start the action from the back end of the street through to the front. The whole thing was just magical. And I mean, of course you don't make movies like that anymore, but yeah, I suppose that was my first little grip of, okay, this is amazing. And then that was it then.
And how did it get from being in that film to moving into theatre? Because that is a bit of a diversion. I mean, it's within the same realm, but it's a diversion.
Well, weirdly, I was already dancing, which I did which I was doing really because my sister was doing it. And my sister's 5 years older than me. So my mum used to go and take me to watch her on a Saturday or whatever and wait for us to finish. And supposedly the story is that they'd all be doing the class and I wouldn't be able to sit still at the back waiting. So I'd be up joining in at the back. And then it just seemed one of those logical things that Mum was like, well, this is crazy, you know, you're doing it anyway. So they started putting me into classes. But I'm from a theatrical background. All of my family are all musicians and singers and dancers and actors. And so it was inevitable, I suppose. It's in my blood. So as far as that goes, I was immersed to all forms of entertainment my entire life, you know. So the transition was just kind of, I don't know. I just loved everything.
But that's something that I vividly remember from you, is that when we worked together on Wicked, it was that case where I remember feeling that you understood from a music point of view and not knowing any of your background, really just knowing you as Adam and you're in charge of the session, you know?
And no, like I've never had that conversation with you ever, no. Really. But
now that is making sense.
Right. And I don't really have that conversation with many people, you know, but it's a hard thing because up front to so many people, I'm a choreographer. So, you know, my knowledge and my expertise is in dance. And I think that's kind of where stepping away and starting again almost in a new world and being in film has opened up this fulfillment for me, because I'm not pigeonholed into, oh, that's the guy that knows about dance. You know, I'm just this, you know, guy that gets to sort of be resourceful and useful and in so many different ways. And
well, that's the thing, because I do remember from those days that you were just so open for change, which is something that I'm a big believer in. Or at least trying things and being creative within a process and within a world actually that can be quite locked off.
Yeah, collaborate. It's just knowing how to collaborate, basically. Yeah. To use the skills of the people around you to their best ability to create the best work. Like, you know, it seems quite sort of sensible and logical to me.
But it's like people that are chaotic in the way they work, like organized chaos, and some people are utterly organized. You know, I'm a bit of a cross between the two.
Yeah,
like, I can be organized, but also if somebody comes in and says, I have no lyrics, no nothing, I just want to do this now, let's just hit record and go. I'm also like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm totally the same. If you need me to be organized, then I will totally get organized and I can do that. But actually, I'm also aware that I work a lot better under pressure. Mm-hmm. Like, when I don't have time to second guess myself or overanalyze what it is that I'm actually doing or not trust my instincts, I am better creatively, because my gut, you know, it speaks, and I'm a sensitive human being anyway. Mm-hmm. So I've already picked up what is right from the room around me or from the people or what we're trying to get to. But if you get me in my own way between point A and, you know, and B, then I find it really difficult. I find it difficult then.
Right, let's move on to question number 3.
Yeah.
Okay, who or what was your biggest inspiration?
Oh, God, that's really hard.
Tricky, huh?
Yeah, because I've got too many.
That's okay.
Is there?
It's our chat together, mate, so your answer is right.
Well, yeah, but, you know, I mean, of course, early on, my inspiration in my family, all of them are my first and always will be my biggest inspiration, because that's what I was around. You know, that's what made me want to do what I do, and also the fact they've allowed me to do that. And, but also I suppose there were so many teachers along the way. but my family are up there as my main inspirations. You know, I'd wake up in the morning and hear my dad practicing his bass, you know, guitar, and it's just what I knew.
Mm-hmm.
And sitting there right from a baby and watching my sister taking her dance classes, it's like, how could I not? That is my inspiration. But then along the way, I've got so many huge inspirations, really. I mean, Wayne Cilento is obviously a big, huge part of my life. The choreographer of Wicked, and you know, they became my family for many years. But he was always a big inspiration, and his history before him, his experience and what he learned, and the people that he was around, and Bob Fosse and Michael Bennett, and they're all big, huge inspirations. Everybody I've come across has inspired me in one way or another.
Yeah, of course. I mean, for me, I couldn't answer that question in one person, because so many, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. There's so many different inspirations that all come together.
Totally. And then I think about all this, you know, the things that I've done, you know, with regards to sort of, I've got inspirations when it comes to why I want to direct, and inspirations as to why I want to choreograph, and inspirations as to why I want to create film or theatre, or why am I passionate about music in the way that I am, who's inspired me. There are just so many different, there's got to be hundreds. If I sat down and thought about it, there probably are. But yeah, I mean, if I think about standing in the studio and hearing Guy play for the very first time, and actually having that opportunity to be in a rehearsal room with a drummer,
mm-hmm.
like, I'm never going to forget that experience. My very first experience of having that collaboration in the creative process
mm-hmm. was
so unique and special, and that's going to stay with me forever more. And that's, you know, that's now how I work. That's the only way I feel inspired to create, is to have that energy with me in the room. So that stays with me. You know, those little pockets of moments are all huge, big inspirations in probably a more in a bigger way than you realise, until you break it down.
But those moments of inspirations are the things that sometimes they have sometimes the smallest little impact that can leave an enormous footprint.
Oh, huge, yeah. And they probably don't even realise either. Do you know what I mean? You don't. And of course, you know, it's like, we will have to have awareness, self-awareness, and be able to self-reflect on an experience and go, okay, how could I have done that better? Or how could I have got a better result? A huge part of what I do is social skills anyway. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, I have to know how to make people feel confident and comfortable in order for them to be able to do the best possible job. I think working through fear and trying to sort of get results out of people through making them feel terrified is a very old-fashioned way of working. I don't think that really works anymore. I don't think it works now. Whether or not you only got to look back at the results. I mean, whatever it was they were doing was working at the time. Mm-hmm. They produced some of the best work ever. When you look at theatre in the 60s and 70s, I mean, those guys, oh my God.
Yeah.
But look at the standard of the work that they were creating. It was amazing. But we have to find a way, you know, especially now. But so much of that is social skills. So you've got to be aware and be able to sort of adapt in order to get the best out of the people that you're working with at the time.
Let's move on to question number 4.
Yeah.
This one I think you're going to love, and I'm very interested to hear your answer to this one.
Okay.
What job would you have had if you didn't work in the entertainment industry?
I'd be a pilot.
You are freaking kidding, right?
No.
That's my answer, and that's Guy's answer.
No.
Mate, I trained to be a pilot, and I couldn't get in because I had flat feet. I wanted to go in the RAF.
No way.
Yeah, I'm obsessed by planes.
I am too. When I was 15, such a geek. When I was 15, I started studying for my PPI.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it was, and literally I've got my books all there, just right there.
Huh.
And it's always been something, it got left behind because obviously it's a very expensive, thing to do. And at some point it was like, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to go away to college and study to, dance and act, or are you going to be a pilot or whatever? And obviously there was just no question at the time. But yeah, it's been something that I still now, I'm like, when I get enough time to do this, and enough money behind me, then that would be something that I finish. I need to finish that.
I did three lessons about a couple of years ago,
right?
But just run out of time, and then in the end, it's hard because you have to do so many hours during so many times, otherwise you have to go back. And it was something that I said to myself, do you know what? I will do this one day, but I will do it when I have time, and it will be.
I imagine it's going to be something that when I retire, that'll be my hobby.
Yeah.
We'll be, going out and taking a little plane out.
What is that though? Is that just a coincidence between three people in the entertainment industry, or do you think there are more? What is it that draws you to planes?
I think what we do, again, especially working in moments of pressure, is and also escapism. Everything's escapism. It's like it's about being somewhere else where everyone else isn't.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there's something about the element of freedom that we feel when we're playing or dancing or acting or whatever it is, or creating, that gives you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I always wanted to fly as a kid. And, if I was ever messing around in the garden as a kid, I was always Superman or somebody that, I wanted to fly is what I wanted to do. So I think there's something to do with that, but I also think there's something to do with I don't know how to explain it. The power. There's something about going, I'm a speed junkie. I like cars and I like planes and I like going really fast, and I have to stop myself, and I get told off very often if I ever have anybody in the car with me. Actually, most of my family refuse to get in the car with me.
Nice, it's a quiet place then, great.
I know, exactly. But no, I think there's something about speed and power, and I don't know, something of that. It's adrenaline. It's just a adrenaline junkie.
Are you the kind of person that if you are going to go to America or to Asia or wherever, that you will book your flight and then immediately look online to see what plane flies that route?
I normally do it before I book. So because I fly so much now, and I have done for years, that I've got to know, depending on what my budget is with the particular flight, I've got to know what.
A330s. Anyway, let's move on to question number 5.
Yeah.
This one I got asked recently, and I couldn't answer this, okay? So good luck. Where is the rhythm? Where does it come from?
Where does it come from? That's really hard. Because you go to say one thing, and then the minute you think of that, then you go, well, no, that's not necessary, because you could just do that. From a logistical point of view, I it's got to be in your gut. It's got to be a internal thing, because I mean, essentially, we can create our own rhythm. You know, the heartbeat has got to be the ultimate, you know, pacemaker. You know, it's. I don't know. That's an impossible question.
It's tricky,
I
huh?
mean, the most human form of rhythm is obviously your heart. So that would probably be my answer.
It comes from here.
Comes from here.
Do you think that it's something that, like, for instance, I'll give you this as an example, and I've said this every time. My example is that you put me behind a drum kit or a guitar or a piano, and my rhythm is impeccable.
Right.
I can come up with any rhythms over things and threes over sevens or whatever.
Mm.
Stick me on a dance floor and I have no rhythm whatsoever. My feet cannot move. I do not feel it.
Yeah. And that's always been really interesting to me, because it doesn't make any sense.
Is it confidence? Is it education? What is it?
I don't know. I think it's probably just exposure. But it's odd that, you know, especially from a drummer's perspective, because you are literally responsible for everything, you know, and your feet are active in that rhythm making. Mm-hmm. So for you to then say you can't translate that, even though it's in your feet when you're playing the drums, you can't translate that to dancing, is bizarre to me.
Can't do it.
It's weird. But I mean, there are so many people, and it's the same with singers. I'm like, how can you have so much musicality when you sing, but you can't translate that into your body? And at least, I mean, it's not about being perfect with the shapes or anything you're making, because I mean, again, it is what it is. And it's so individual. But with regards to like singers not being able to keep time when they move, even that, I'm like, I don't get it. It's bizarre.
Yeah, I think that's also where we go back to the beginning of where we talked about you having all these different disciplines within different things. You know, you can come at it. But it's like Buddy Rich. You know, Buddy Rich started off being a tap dancer with his mum in a show with his mum when he was 3-4 years old. There's footage on YouTube of him just tap dancing away as this little kid. Then you think about that kind of, and then you stick it on a snare drum and you add a big band, you can see that progression and how that was pretty normal to have.
Gives me goosebumps.
Yeah.
It puts me right back there. Like, there was a job that I did, and it was at Cadogan Hall, and it was with the jazz orchestra, and the job was they were recreating a lot of Duke Ellington's sacred music. I mean, Duke Ellington's always been a huge inspiration for me from a musical point of view. But he has a series of sacred concerts that he'd written, which a lot of people don't know about. And they're very unknown pieces of music, and they are incredibly beautiful. But my job was to come out and basically, it's a tap dancer called Bonnie Briggs, was the original tap dancer on the album that he did, and I think that one was live from San Francisco. He actually did one live from Westminster Cathedral too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. The music is incredible. I've been wanting to do something with it for a long time. But he'd written this song called David Danced, Before the Lord, and Bonnie Briggs tapped was the jazz tapper on it, and it was all improvised, and you can hear it live. It's amazing. He's incredible. But I remember going in, being in this rehearsal, and of course they brought this guy in to tap dance, and this, yeah, I kind of go against the stereotype for what you expect for a jazz tapper anyway. You know, is very much part of the African American culture with those musicians and tap dancers. So it's always been something that I've kind of had to fight against a little bit anyway. And you sort of always feel this expectation of, got to prove, you know, I need to prove myself. I need to prove to people that I know what I'm doing and that I've done my homework and I know where this has come from. And it was scary as fuck. But to this day, it was a job that I did that I didn't have much expectation from. I was asked as a favour to go in and do it. No one came and saw me, I don't think. And it was the one job that I'm most proud of, because it was the one moment where I felt like I'd hit where I should be. Mm-hmm. Like, it was my true middle ground between my passion for music and my passion for dance. Mm-hmm. And I was both of those things at that time, because I wasn't dancing, I was playing an instrument.
Yeah, of course.
And it was like, wow, oh my God, I'm leading this as a musician right now. Yeah. I'm not leading this as a dancer. I'm like playing with my feet. But with regards to sort of tangent, but going from the rhythm question, it's like there was no question in that moment of where the rhythm came from.
Right, question number 6. Are you ready for this one?
Yeah.
Because I think this is going to be tricky for you. What is your career highlight, and what is it about this moment that made it so special?
Well, I probably would say I probably already touched on it a little bit with that Duke Ellington experience. I think that will always remain a huge career highlight for me. Mm-hmm. From a performing point of view, I've probably got 2.
Okay.
As a performer, that was definitely my career highlight, because it meant the things it meant to me, as I was saying before. My creative highlight has to be working on Ready Player One with Steven Spielberg. Mm-hmm. That is gonna stay with me forever.
So I mean, I love that as a film. You know, it's a great film. I love the concept. I mean, my favorite composer of all time is Alan Silvestri,
right,
by far. And the homage and the hints back to the Future in that. I mean, yeah, when that trailer came out and it was just literally that note, you know, I was like, whoa.
No, it's so good. I mean, it is a great movie. It's a type. It's for a very specific market. I'm proud of, the movie is what it is, and I'm proud of the movie, but the career highlight was in the process more than the result for me, obviously. Yeah. It was just, you can't, it was like the best masterclass of all time, just being around all of these genius, creative people, and also just getting to watch everybody and getting to watch him and see how he leads, and the fact that he gives everybody their power to be their best. There's no micromanagement. He has a team of people around him that he trusts and loves and have worked with him consistently for years and years and years. And he allows them that freedom that we were talking about earlier to do what they do best. Mm-hmm. And then it's his job at the end of the day, after he's allowed everyone to be the genius, creative people that they are, it's then his job to then utilize all of those best bits through his own eye to tell that story. But, I've watched other creative people, again, either through using fear or manipulation, sabotage their own projects as a director because they're not letting people do what they do best. Mm-hmm. And that's what he does. And it was amazing to think that you can be who, he has a lot on the line. his profile and his name, although he's obviously established himself, but, you know, we all know that we're only as good as our last job, no matter what you've done. The pressure's still there, and I don't think the pressure ever goes away. But he still was able to put that faith and that trust in all the people that he employed and go, no, I've employed you for the reason that you are the best, and that's why you're my best. You are to my taste, and I trust that you're going to do what I need you to do until proven otherwise. So go off, do what you need to do, come back, show me what you've got. I'll give you a couple of notes, but it was just, everything was in the most positive way. Everything was, you know, supportive. And again, I'm sure that there are other people who've had completely different experiences with those people. But for me, I was like, wow, this is amazing. If I can feel like this and make other people feel like this when I'm working, then this is what I want to do forevermore, you know?
It is that, I mean, I had one experience with him, and that was from an audience point of view, where I saw John Williams live at the Hollywood Bowl a year and a half ago. And it was the night where John Williams said, look, we're going to do all the with the LA Phil, the whole, you know, scenes from Raiders, the stuff from Jaws, Harry Potter, all that.
Yeah.
But I need to have Steven Spielberg here to talk me through some of the work that we did together.
Wow.
And he was the compere, and it was incredible. And one of my favorite stories about him actually is the story about the flying theme from E.T.
Right.
Where basically they'd obviously done the film, and they had the whole scene with Elliot on the bike, everything. And you've got that kind of pulsating, moving piece of music going through all these different keys. And suddenly you hit that moment where it goes to the ba 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 da ba da, where it takes off. And John Williams with the orchestra couldn't hit the spot right, because obviously we had those, you know, the markers going across with the blip. It wasn't clicked like it is now. You know, it was very much, you need to, you know, conduct it to picture.
Right.
And
I mean, that's amazing, isn't it?
It's just, dude, like, how do you, I mean, like, I can score for TV, for film, not a problem with all the markers and everything, but how do you do it not only with that, but with just go, hey, mate, we're sat here, okay, this is the theme, how it's going to sound on a piano.
Yeah.
There's no mock-up, there's no demo.
Yeah.
And you go, yeah, okay, great, let's hire 150 musicians in 3 weeks in the studio.
Yeah, and get this done.
Yeah, I mean, the trust had to be incredible. But Steven Spielberg basically said, look, it's not working out, this whole scene. So I'm going to do something. I'm going to take the picture away, and you just record this whole scene without the picture, and you make the music feel the way that it should do, and I will go back and re-edit it to what you've done.
Wow. See, but that's what I mean. That sums up my experience with him. 100%. Because he's a collaborator, he's a true collaborator, and he knows where to put the importance at the right time and who to put it with. Yeah. And who to trust. Like, he trusted in that moment clearly that if I get the right emotion out of the music, I understand the importance of what that music is going to bring to the overall experience for the viewer. Like, my edit and what people see on the screen isn't always the most important moment. Yeah. Like, the power in the music is what stays with people forevermore, as much as the visual. But if the two things don't work together, then you're sabotaging your own project. You're sabotaging your own scene. It's like, that's why he is a genius. It's the sensitivity to putting the importance in the right place with the right person at the right time. And a lot of people don't have that. Ultimately, I think that's what I took from that experience. It was such a happy set. Of course, there are always moments, but it was about everybody being able to produce their best possible work and being passionate at the same time. And I think it also comes from the fact that he's, Spielberg is here. His name is above the project. He will sell a movie himself.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't really need anybody else to help him sell his movies. It's him and then everybody else. So there was almost no hierarchy. It was like Spielberg and then the rest of us. Yeah. And we were all there to facilitate him and his movie in the way that he saw it. He knows how to play the director. He has a thing. He has his phono, and he's got his scarf on, his glasses, and he's got his little black cap on, and he's everything you want him to be.
Yeah.
And more so when he's in that sort of public environment like that, and because I'm sure he feels a level of expectation. I just remember this out-of-body experience of looking at him going, fuck, that's Steven Spielberg, all those movies I grew up to, that's him.
It's crazy, huh?
Yeah, it was mad.
So question number 7 is, what is your process when you prepare for a project, and where do you start?
Oh, that's another really bloody hard one. These are all really hard. Because it's so broad. There's no process. I don't think there's no right or wrong way of doing it. And I like to be affected by everything around me and just let it happen. Like,
do you do research before?
Yeah, so I suppose there's always a practical element to it, in the sense that I like to be as sort of drowned in knowledge as possible. Like, I will read and make sure that I'm as educated with regards to, if something's period, that's always, I don't want to go into a project having not fully immersed myself in what was happening at that time. So research is always very important, like watching movies or other people's movies of the same type, or educating myself on that director that I'm working with. I'll always try and watch as much of their work as possible before I then step into the room, so that I can educate myself on their taste level as much as possible. But also, I think there's something to be said for, like, I don't like overly attaching myself to a piece of music or the script, for example, because I know that all of those things are so changeable. Mm-hmm. So I will do my research, but leave myself as open as possible and not over familiar with the material, so that when I'm in the room or I'm in the process, I'm affected by other people's direction or input as much as possible.
Okay.
Because I think it's really important. Otherwise, I find that because I have such a strong artistic eye of my own, that hopefully one day I have that opportunity to lead a team of people, and then it does become mine. But at this point, that isn't my place in the process. So I want to leave myself as open to being affected by all of those other people and their roles as possible. I find if you're too educated on the whatever it is you're working on, it's too hard, because there are obviously so many different areas that I work in. But whatever that thing is, if you go in with too many preconceptions, then I think it's hard to let that barrier down. It's hard to...
See, I see it as a house, right? From my point of view, starting a project is a house. You have some people that will build every mortal thing. They'll build the foundations, the first floor, the second floor, the roof. There's a skylight in the roof. The detail that they have leading up to that project, they have all the detail in there. But for me, I like the foundations and like the outer walls in wood, which you can still see through.
Yeah.
You want it to look like a house, right? We all know we want it to look like something.
Yeah.
but there's got to be room to add to it and to not adhere to expectation and to be changeable.
Yeah.
Whereas I find those people that are so detailed, it's very difficult to convince them that the house doesn't need a skylight. It's because they've always seen a skylight.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Totally it.
We know we want a house.
Again, it's different ways of working, because some people are not good in the moment, like we were saying earlier. Mm-hmm. So they have to map everything out. You know, it's like, if we're talking about choreography specifically, you know, the amount of choreographers that I know will be at home creating all of the, you know, vocabulary and the counts of 8, and then they've drawn out maps and who they want to stand where and where they want them to move and all their traffic. Like, I could never work like that, because I know that then I'm going to step into the room and it's never going to live up to the expectation of what's in my head. Not because of any of the people that I'm working with, but because of myself. Because that's never going to be there. It's never enough for me anyway. I'm a pain in the arse. Like, I always want more, and my mind is like gone off on the bloody tangent. But if I allow myself to build something in the room and be affected by the people around me, and just let that process happen naturally, then I can step back and go, oh, okay, this is cool, I like this. But if I go in there with expectation and a structure, and then it isn't what I want it to be, which is 150% true of each situation, it's then I've put a lot of
It's all downhill from there.
It is, yeah. It's like, well, you're screwed.
Yeah.
And then you self-sabotage, and then your fear kicks in, and then you don't think you're enough, and then it's like you've ruined it.
Yeah, that's the difficulty, isn't it? Well, it's funny because we come on to question number 8, and I think we're hitting around. You're leading me every time on to what's coming next. Really interesting. Question number 8 is, what's the biggest obstacle you've ever had to overcome in your career, and how did you overcome it?
That's got to be my current biggest obstacle.
Okay.
Is being so integral to a creative process, especially on the types of films that I'm working on now. In the final outcome, you're often very an important role in that final picture, but it only goes so far. Mm-hmm. And then once all of that work's been done, you basically then you relinquish control, creative control, to somebody else, and then they will chop and move and edit and, you know, maybe go away and have sections, you know, new sections rewritten musically. And, you know, like, I've had whole numbers, created whole arrangements and had tracks laid down and the whole thing created to that track. And then they've wanted to keep that number, but they don't like the music anymore, and they want it to be sung by a different person in a different way. So they've gone away and re-recorded the music that no longer has anything to do with what you've done physically, which also ties into the way that people look in the costumes they're wearing, or the set piece that they're on, and the way that you've lit it, because the lighting essentially is moving to a certain timing or whatever. It's like all of a sudden none of those elements go together because you plonked a completely different track to it. So to sit back and have any sort of creative fulfillment in that is really, really tough. I had one sequence on Rocket Man, for example, where it was always the plan that we were going to shoot this sequence in one shot, as they would have done back then, you know, with one camera had to be choreographed. So I had a lot of creative license with that, because, you know, it was built from the ground up. So I was in the studio with Giles and Toby, and we created the track. And, you know, I'd get on the phone and I'd say, I need 2 more 8s of this, or I want to put the Bhangra section there, or when we bring the ska in, I need those horns to basically supplement what we're doing physically in this moment. And the whole thing was built as it would have done back then.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so then that number for me is probably the only sequence in that particular film where I can step away and I can go, okay, that feels good, because it's exactly how I wanted it to be seen.
And it's filmed in one shot, so you know that how you've seen it is how it's going to be.
Exactly. I mean, actually, in the final edit, there was a little section on the dodgems that they chopped out a middle section and they cheated a wiping because they thought the sequence was just a bit too long timing wise. But even still, what's there in the frame is the way that I wanted it to look. You know, whereas everything else, you know, by the time it's gone through a process and everybody's had their creative input at certain, you know, stages, it sometimes bears no resemblance to anything that you imagined. So that's a massive hurdle.
Right, question number 9. Are you ready for this one? This is a real weird one. Okay, you host a dinner party for 5 people.
Right.
Who would you invite and who would you give your last piece of pie to?
5.
Yeah.
If we're talking creatively, then Duke Ellington, Jill Scott, has to be Bob Fosse. Oh my God, it's really hard. I probably have to say Michael Bennett. And then probably, I don't know, maybe Chaplin, I think, yeah, that's my 5. Isn't it?
Okay, and who would you give the last piece of pie to?
Jill.
Why?
Because I love her.
Right, question number 10. This one is easy for you. You'll enjoy this one. What is your favourite city or country, either one, country or city, that you visited, and what was it that took you there?
Oh, bugger. That's easy. That's one of the hardest. Country and city.
Country or city, it doesn't matter. Like, you know, you could say I love Brazil or, you know.
Other than my own.
Whatever you want.
Well, then really it has to be London then, really, because it's where I'm drawn to, it's where I come back to. I have a love-hate relationship with it, but it's where my people are, it's where all my friends are, my lifers are. I have so many other places in the world that I do absolutely love. You know, and I love New York. I lived in New York for 4 years, traveled the States hundreds of times. I have amazing cities that I love. San Francisco, I'm in love with. But nothing is quite the same as London. It's unique. It's a city that feels like a town. It's still green. You don't feel like you're overly swamped in the madness. As much as people in London wouldn't agree with that when you're in it, it's not until you move away and you live somewhere else that you realise all the amazing things that London has to offer. Mm-hmm. All of its beautiful open green space, and the river running right through the middle of it. And also how easy it is to get out of the city and be in the beautiful open countryside and not have to travel for miles and miles and miles to get to that. It's
well, it could be a tube journey. It could be a 20-minute tube journey, or in Richmond Park, for instance.
Yeah, totally. It's yeah, London is always going to be that for me. And also the fact that you are so easily connected, and that if you want to get to anywhere in Europe, we have that at our disposal, and it's the most amazing, beautiful. You know, you can be in London 1 minute and 2.5 hours later, you can be on a beautiful Spanish coastline, you know, or in the middle of Barcelona, which is another city which I absolutely love. Besides the fact that my best mate and her fiance live there, and they're very special to me. But so I love being there. Again, it's about people, the same, you know.
Yeah.
Going there and having people that you love and you're around makes us, you know, the place as special as the place itself.
Well, home is people, isn't it? Let's be honest. Yeah. You know, like
where the heart is, Ryan.
Mate, exactly. You say it how it is.
Exactly.
Right. So, question number 11. We have 2 more left.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to your younger self?
Not to be afraid. That was the one thing I think that would be the main thing. And to let go of perfection is the other.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it took me a long time to stop worrying so much about what other people's opinions of me were. Yeah, it took me a long time to get over that, and sort of stick to my guns with regards to who and what I wanted to be. And also with regards to perfectionism, it was always very destructive for me, that I was afraid to do something unless I knew what the outcome was going to be, you know, unless I knew it was going to be perfect and it was going to be to the standard that I wanted it to be at. I would often just remove myself from the situation entirely.
Yeah.
So I stopped myself potentially achieving other things at certain times that I could have done if I'd just thrown myself at it, or not been afraid to give something a go. And actually, it's kind of still have to remind myself that now.
Actually, I think fear for me and not doing things is almost like if you write something or you create something,
yeah,
you go, I'm just going to leave it for a bit, I'm going to let it settle, and then I'm going to send it out. You know that for a couple of weeks in your head, the idea of it being accepted and it being good and it being fantastic can live on. But the moment you send it out, the possibility of that dream being completely gone is the reason why you think, I'm not going to fucking send it at all.
Yeah, it is. It's ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
Self-sabotage. I've literally just gone through that process during all of this, because the one thing that I've been lucky to have during this time is I've been able to continue developing ideas and projects and stuff that have been in place before this all happened. So it's given me space and time to write and get those treatments and pitch decks and things put together and get them out there. But there was one particular project that everybody is really excited about, and the studios have been waiting for this information for me to provide them. And it's the one project that I've avoided putting anything down, because it's like, for as long as that is there and everyone's going, God, this is amazing, this could be bloody brilliant, send us some more information, we're in a good place. The minute I put it down and actually send it out is exactly what you just said. It's like, then there's space for everyone to go, oh, actually it's not going to quite work at this time, or, you know, it's not quite what we expected. So then I've just decided I'm not going to do it at all. So, you know, but it's ridiculous, because you've got people with open arms going, no, give it to us. We want it. We're excited by this. But
okay, this is the last question, all right? And it's not really a question. It's the easiest one that you'll find. What is next? What are you up to? What is next? What is happening?
Hopefully I'll pick up on this movie that I was meant to be doing now. Hopefully that'll drop into place when this all gets lifted. I was actually about to go and do a Bollywood movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which I was so excited about, because from a logistical point of view, and responsibility-wise, it was my, biggest yet, because those sequences have hundreds and hundreds of people in them, some of them. But so I was really excited about that, and also getting to go and work in a new medium, in a new country, and with their processes, and seeing how they do things and how that might work, and what I might be able to take from that with me moving forwards as a filmmaker. And besides that, there's a couple of projects. There's a project for a new big franchise, for a concept that I come up with that is being developed with a big studio in LA. And there's there's lots of stuff going on. So I'm very grateful that things are bubbling away, and are in development. And some of this stuff actually probably would have taken all of this time to come to fruition anyway, because the developmental process is so long for some of this stuff.
Well, mate, look, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This was quite cathartic, really.
Yeah, but it's great. It's really
a therapy session.
Yeah, but these are really nice to do, and I think people will watch this and will learn so much from what you've got and what you've done and everything. So, but guys, listen. Next week we have this person.